Okay, so it's a very quick video for myself, Harvey Goldman. No cuts, no edits, no filters, and no hair. And so today's video is 5 everyday things that I feel are quietly getting worse, but many people just don't seem to notice. So you're not imagining it. Life is steadily declining. It's just happening in very sneaky ways that you're probably not meant to notice. It all feels a little bit underhanded. So in this video, what I want to do is just peel back that curtain a little bit and highlight some subtle declines that I've noticed in everyday life. And they're probably the kind that you might normally just shrug off. Or you just chalk it up to bad luck, or maybe you don't notice until somebody else points it out to you. But the most important thing is that it's symptomatic of bigger economic and societal shifts. And all the time we're being told that it's normal, when of course it's not. So let's get into it. So the first one is shrinkflation, greedflation, and skimpflation. And these are all variants of you paying the same or paying more and getting less or getting inferior quality. And this obviously is endemic with supermarkets, and I do pick on them quite a bit because they are probably the main culprits. But you have also got other industries, particularly, for example, the white goods industry, where things are now made using cheaper components, and ergo they have a finite lifespan. Things like TVs and such like that, home goods, they just don't last as long as the same type of item might have done 15 or 20 years ago. So why does this matter? Well, obviously brands, especially, they rely on familiarity. So when they shrink the contents or they use inferior components, whatever it might be, they might do this instead of raising the prices. But it's still a stealth price hike. They're still making more money for the same product, and it's at our expense. And the impact of this is that we are losing money over time without realizing it, because we're needing to buy more of the product, or we're needing to buy the item when it breaks after 2 or 3 years instead of lasting for 10 or 15 as once it might. And this is obviously not on. You've got customer service. Now, customer service used to be of paramount importance for any business. It's what many businesses have built their foundation on: good quality customer service, being there for the people. But now that's not the case. We've gone from human to headache in a matter of probably about the last 5-6 years. So how's this happened? Well, human support, real person support, is now being replaced by chatbots, or invariably overseas call centers, where, let's face it, I'm not trying to be xenophobic, the person that you might get on the end of the line if you're trying to speak to maybe Microsoft or maybe a retailer, for example, to sort a problem out, invariably they don't often have the best English. And it just makes the frustration of having a problem that might otherwise be very easily fixed that little bit more untenable and that little bit more frustrating, because it's not dealt with quickly, it's not dealt with efficiently. And this is a problem. Banks, for example, are really bad for this. Banks, you can't phone your bank anymore to sort a problem out. Try and get hold of your local branch, if there even is one. Banks are now pushing customers into using apps. The apps don't resolve the problems, not really. They simply slow down the process. They give that funnel of problems a bit of breathing room. They band you around different options on a chatbot, and then eventually, when you've exhausted all the options and you've spent an hour selecting A, going to B, ending up at Z, eventually when the chatbot gives up on you, then it'll put you through to a person. But you, as the person with the problem, and it's a problem that likely you've not caused, it's been caused by the company that you're trying to sort the problem with, you're made to feel like you're actually having to put in extra work to sort your own problem out. That's not good customer service, not at all. Customer service, I think, AI can help manage it if it's done in the right way and if it's limited. But to try and use AI for everything, to try and use chatbots for everything, or automated phone dialers when you press 1 and then you've got to press 3 and then you've got to hold, it makes customer service seem redundant. It seems like non-customer service. And this matters because when something goes wrong, if I have a problem with a business or with a product or with a service, you're just stuck in a maze. Companies save money by doing this because very often, let's just say even 5% of people, 1 in 20, that phone up to try and sort a problem out, they get fed up with going around the maze, going down rabbit holes and any other euphemism you like. They just give up and think, well, I'll just suck it up, whatever, I can't be asked. So companies save money, and you, me, the customers, we lose money, and worse, we lose time dealing with the problem. It doesn't really help that people, obviously, in this position, they feel helpless. They feel that nobody wants to help anymore, and this is because they often don't. Number 3, and this is a massive one for myself, product quality. It's designed to break, not to last. So how is this happening? I mean, we're all aware that things wear out. That's just the nature of things, whether it's footwear, whether it's clothing, whether it's a car, a television, or whatever. Things have got a finite lifespan. However, modern things, they wear out faster, let's face it. Whether it's appliances, clothes, footwear, white goods, you name it, it wears out faster. And I mentioned in a previous video that washing machines and my nan's chest freezer lasted about 30 years, never needed an engineer, never needed a call out. I think it was actually a hot point one. But washing machines, certainly, to have a washing machine for 15 years used to be relatively normal. Now, many break down in 3 to 5. And a testament to that is obviously a lot of these companies, I'm going to pick on Argos. Argos offer an extended guarantee or warranty or whatever it is of 3 to 5 years because they don't expect the product to reasonably last more than 3. I feel that if you're going to spend, let's face it, the cheapest washing machine's got to be about 200 quid. If you're going to spend a load of money on a washing machine, you want it to last a decent amount of time. Fast fashion garments are obviously another thing that's victim to this. They fall apart sometimes after 4 or 5 washes. You get logos that peel off and you know, bad workmanship, despite the fact it's high fashion and bloody expensive. And I think a lot of this is obviously planned obsolescence. Brands want you to buy again sooner. So it's a case of them choosing profit over durability. And this is a real cost. You're not saving money by buying cheap. And you're not often saving money by buying expensive. What you want to do is ignore the brand and ignore the price and buy reliable. Go on to websites like Which, for example, where they compare products. Read reviews of people that have actually bought the products and their experience after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it might be. But try not to make decisions based so much on price, although admittedly in this economy it's perhaps a little bit unavoidable. But certainly don't buy based on brand. Brand doesn't mean reliable. Not anymore, not in 2025. Let's not get trapped into that replace cycle that the brands want us to be trapped in. It's a game that none of us financially want to play. So number 4, and this is a one that perhaps doesn't affect me as much, but it has done perhaps once recently. Public services. So public services, they seem to be always declining, whilst the costs always seem to be going up. So, for example, the one that's affected me recently was the NHS. I've currently got a hernia that I've been waiting to have sorted for well over a year. I was put on a waiting list, bumped off that list, and then put onto another list. Both lists were at least 9 months long. I'm still no closer to getting that fixed. So that one's directly affected me. Now, part of that is obviously because, yes, it's only a hernia. I'm probably not going to die from it anytime soon. It's inconvenient, it's annoying, it's occasionally painful, but there are people that are in far more need than me. I get it. However, I still would like a date. I can't just walk around with a hernia for 2 or 3 years. I don't think that's fair, because I'm paying into a system that I'm meant to be able to dip into if and when I need treatment. Public transport, huge. Public transport is always in the news for systems failing or prices rising. And this is unfair because obviously people that perhaps can't afford to run a car, but they can afford just to have a train ticket. If those costs are going up, it means the disparity between the cost of owning a vehicle somewhere like London or owning an Oyster card, there might not be that much in it sooner or later. And what if you don't want to own a car? What if you're an environmental lover? You want to save the penguins and all the rest of it, and you don't want an EV, you don't want a diesel. What if you're happy using the infrastructure that's there, but those prices keep going up? It's a little bit unfair. It feels like you've got a rum deal. Now, I know obviously, for example, bus routes, many of them across rural areas, and where I live in Devon, it is quite rural. Many of them simply get cancelled. Now, this means that people are effectively marooned in the middle of nowhere. I mean, Christ, what if you live on Dartmoor and the bus maybe comes every 2 or 3 hours? You might get 5 buses a day come anywhere near where you live, and then they cancel that route. What if that's your lifeline to friends, to family, to a support network? Perhaps if you're vulnerable or you're elderly or you've got nobody else. You've effectively had that umbilical cord to the outside world pulled away. It seems unfair. It seems that planning for infrastructure is severely lacking in the UK. And this matters because we're all paying taxes. We all still need to have reasonable alternatives when these public systems fail. But the reasonable alternatives, they're not fairly priced. What's the alternative if you've not got a bus? It's buying a car or getting a taxi. Who can afford taxis nowadays? What's the alternative if you can't afford to have a 3-week wait for a doctor's appointment that might take you a whole morning to sort out on a 3-hour phone call? You have to go private, which comes with a cost. Dental. Obviously, I went to Turkey for mine. I'm not ever going to deny that. I had some essential work done involving implants to replace some broken front teeth that I snapped off when I was a kid. I had constant aggro for 35 years of my life, having crowns that just kept breaking and everything else. And then I saved up for about 3 years and went over there and had them replaced with implants. And it was the best thing that I'd ever done. So it wasn't out of vanity, it was out of necessity. But to do that over here, I couldn't have got it done. NHS dentists wouldn't have done that kind of work. And to go private, it was about £3,000 per tooth. So I would have been looking at £12,000 in implants. And in the end, I spent a fraction of that and just had everything done. So there you go. So you need an alternative to these failing public systems. What used to be universal safety nets for all now feel like they're simply services that are underfunded, abused, most importantly, and therefore stretched beyond recognition. We've now got effectively hollow services that aren't fulfilling their requirements. And the final point, number 5, and this is kind of a throwback to again a previous video that I made, but food quality. Now, a lot of the times you've got things like cheaper ingredients, smaller portions, or the same branding. It might be that recipes change for lower graded ingredients, or they add toxic fillers. I say toxic, just fillers that aren't good for you, aren't healthy for you. You get like nitrates that coat bacon to preserve them. You get fillers in your meats and stuff like that. Christ, they pump They pump chicken breasts with like liquids to make them look plump and juicy and to improve their longevity on the shelves. Ready meals have got more water, more starch, and far less meat. And whenever a company puts new improved taste on a product, you know that you're about to get sort of, I guess, shafted, both financially and in a gastro credibility sense. And this matters because this obviously affects your health. We used to trust brands. We used to trust the long-term value, the nutritional value of what we're feeding our family, what we're feeding ourselves. And the tie-in here really is that ultra-processed food is rising. It's huge. It's rising because it's cheaper, because companies can make more money, they can knock it out faster. The materials to use ultra-processed foods perhaps don't require the same level of import and the same level of import costs. But it's not better, and we're being pushed towards it. And it's only about 2 weeks ago I saw an article on Google, so it must be true, where a company is now using 3D printing to produce steaks that have got Wagyu-style marbling in them. They're using 3D printers to literally hover across almost like a Pyrex dish and print 3D mince that, to all intents and purposes, does look a little bit like regular mince you'd get in a tray. And we're being pushed towards this as a solution. And I think it's a bit like the same way that people have been pushed or are eventually going to be pushed into EVs. It's the same kind of tactic. It's the same kind of scam. It's the same kind of game that we're being played into. So what are your thoughts on this? Have any of these five, or are any of these five affecting you? How does it affect your daily life? What can we do about it, if anything? YouTube's going to put another video there. Obviously, like, follow, subscribe. Be fantastic if you did. And yeah, remember to hit that button and all that jazz. Another video tomorrow. Goldman. Peace out.